We really found that the accusations against Grand Canyon, which is a faith-based organization, and we looked at all the facts of the case.
I am familiar with the university. My question is, how are those students going to be made whole if you are not allowing the university to pay the fines? What's the plan?
I'm not sure that that's the right.
Ladies and gentlemen, wait until you see the footage I'm about to play. Representative Ilhan Omar, a lawmaker who has frequently criticized many of America's institutions, is attempting to question Education Secretary Linda McMahon about ethics and alleged fraud. The contrast is hard to ignore. Omar entered the exchange confidently, pressing McMahon over a penalty involving a Christian university and clearly expecting to put her on the defensive. Instead, McMahon remained composed, answered calmly, and focused on the facts despite repeated interruptions. But that's not the only part that stands out. While Omar accuses others of misconduct, critics have pointed to controversies from her own political career. It's a striking moment. Watch the clip first, and afterward, I'll explain why many believe Omar is in a weak position to accuse others of wrongdoing.
The gentleman, I recognize now the gentlelady from Minnesota, Ms. Omar.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Madam Secretary, for being here with us. Is it fair to assume that you are aware that when a student loan borrower is defrauded by a school, that there is a provision in law called the borrower defense?
Yes, I am.
Okay. It is a straightforward concept. A student should not be forced to repay loans to schools that lie to them. We know that millions of federal grants and loans go out the door while students are left with education that is not worthy. So I was actually surprised a few weeks ago when your department quietly rescinded $37 million fine that was placed against Grand Canyon University. Can you explain why that happened?
Let me see for a second. Let me review my notes on that because there were a couple of things I wanted to make sure I covered with you. We really found that the accusations against Grand Canyon, which is a faith-based organization, and we looked at all the facts of the case.
I am familiar with the university. My question is, how are those students going to be made whole if you are not allowing the university to pay the fines? What's the plan? I'm
not sure that that's the right analysis of it, but I will look into it further and get back to you.
And you'll give me back a writing?
Yes, I will.
Okay. Because we know that, you know, the president in whom you serve had a fraudulent university called Trump University, and he himself settled 3 lawsuits before becoming president. We know that there are roughly 1.4 million borrowers who have been approved for a borrower defense discharge and are still waiting for that process. How are you clearing out that backlog?
In terms of the borrower defense funds? So there are lists of that. I'll be happy to get back to you with those numbers.
Okay. And while those students wait, can you give us a commitment that you are not going to collect that debt?
Yeah, I'll have to get back to you on that, as to what the situation is. And
I don't understand how that's a difficult question to say yes to. They've been defrauded. They are waiting for relief. While they wait for their relief, they shouldn't have to pay back that debt.
Well, if they've been defrauded and it's been adjudicated that they've been defrauded, then I'll get back to you as to what the time frame is and why there's a holdup if there is.
Okay.
I'm not sure as I sit here right now.
Wonderful. There was, I know that you've been questioned a lot on IDEA and its funding. I won't relitigate those questions. I just have 2 particular questions to address, or 2 areas to address. We know that the IDEA, that you have gotten rid of the legal team that guides the states in implementation. How are you going to rectify that?
I don't know what you mean by we've gotten rid of the legal team. We have had some reduction in force of
There was a
members.
firing of the entire legal team.
Well, we have other lawyers in place at the Department of Education, and we are
The
fully...
entire
we are
team
fully-
that was for IDEA has been fired. So how are you addressing that?
Because we have other lawyers who are in place that can handle those things. And as I mentioned before, we have not missed any of our statutory requirements.
I do believe that that firing hurts the implementation. We also know that you have gutted the Office of Civil Rights when there is already investigation backlog. How are you going to fix the discrimination claim cases that are out there?
Well, there are, excuse me, there are cases that we're looking into. And again, we have not missed any of our statutory requirements in terms of OCR. We also have a task force.
There is a backlog. There are a lot of
There is a backlog.
There are a lot of kids in our schools that are waiting for relief. When you get rid of the people that are supposed to carry out those investigations, how are you to assure that those kids will not continue to be harmed? We are talking about so many situations in where kids are being discriminated against, and you got rid of the people that investigate those investigations so those kids can protect themselves from from discrimination.
Well, we still have a very strong and capable staff in OCR.
Then you wouldn't have a backlog if that was the case. There is a current backlog.
Well, that was quite an exchange. One thing that stood out was Linda McMahon's composure throughout the hearing. Representative Ilhan Omar came in with a series of pointed questions, repeatedly interrupting and accusing McMahon of reversing penalties involving a Christian university. McMahon, however, stayed calm, answered each question methodically, and said the department reviewed the evidence before reaching its decision. Whether you agree with that conclusion or not, that's how due process is supposed to work. Decisions should be based on the facts, not politics. What makes this confrontation so controversial, though, is who is making the accusations. Representative Omar focused heavily on claims of fraud and misconduct, but she has also been the subject of political controversies and criticism over the years. Critics have questioned aspects of her campaign finances, including payments made to her husband's consulting firm, although those payments have been publicly reported and no court has found them to be illegal. Others have raised concerns about election-related allegations in Minneapolis, but many of the most widely circulated claims remain disputed or unproven. Beyond that, Omar has faced repeated public scrutiny over personal matters and past immigration-related accusations, though many of those allegations have never been substantiated. Supporters argue that much of the criticism against her is politically motivated, while opponents believe legitimate questions remain unanswered. Either way, her record has made her a polarizing figure in national politics. For many conservatives, that's why her criticism of McMahon rings hollow. They see Omar as someone who frequently condemns America's institutions, while offering little recognition of the opportunities the country has provided her. They argue that she consistently portrays the United States as fundamentally flawed, criticizing its history, policies, and institutions rather than focusing on practical solutions. From that perspective, Linda McMahon came across as someone focused on explaining policy decisions, while Omar appeared more interested in creating a confrontational moment. Supporters of McMahon would likely say she handled the pressure with professionalism and stayed focused on the issue at hand, despite the interruptions. At the end of the day, viewers will draw their own conclusions. Some will believe Omar was holding the administration accountable, while others will see McMahon as the one who demonstrated patience and restraint under fire. Whose performance impressed you more, Linda McMahon's or Representative Omar's? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more political analysis.